Hello everyone and welcome back to Classic Comics. So today I'm looking at Superman Son of Kal-El number 2. Now of course this is the book that's getting a lot of attention lately because there's a rumor that DC is going to make Jonathan Kent gay. And I think there was some anticipation that this might be the issue where it happened. So anyway, let's get into this. So we start with Jonathan. He's at home and he's watching this guy on the internet who runs this website called The Truth. And he talks about, I don't know, he seems to be like a guy pointing out political issues or whatever. But anyway, he's talking about this boatload of refugees from a nation called Gomorrah. Not the Marvel character, but an island nation called Gomorrah, who are traveling overseas to Metropolis. And then Lois calls him and tells him he needs to get up. He's late for school. So he's going to start college, and he has a secret identity now to function as in public. Finn Connor, I think, is the name, and he wears this blonde wig. So anyway, he gets to the college, and he meets this guy with pink hair who's signing people up for the media department, and he's signing up. And then this guy with green hair shows up, and there's like several people with green hair, pink hair, whatever. Anyway, and he's got an automatic rifle. He's a school shooter, so he tries to shoot up the place, and Jonathan stops him and saves everybody's lives. But of course, he exposes his identity in the process, and the crowd cheers him and all that. And I did think this is kind of funny because he went to all these lengths to be anonymous, you know, driving a car instead of just flying there. And then after he's exposed himself, you know, he just picks up his car and flies away. Like, no point in hiding it now. So he goes to the moon, and then Clark tracks him down, and then they have a talk. And this is part of the book that's getting a lot of attention. So Clark shows up and says, you know, I heard what happened. And so they have a talk. Jonathan just outright asks Superman, just outright asks him, hey, Dad, why don't you do more? Why don't you do more? Why don't you be better? And, you know, I think Clark, actually, he handles it well. He says, you know, look, I can handle some constructive criticism. And he says, you know, look, I know I don't do everything. I may not do everything perfectly. Maybe I'm not always doing the exact best thing. But he says, you know, I've always felt that the best role I can play is to lead by example and inspire people to be better. And Jonathan just says, well, that's dumb. That's a dumb idea. To which Clark says, yeah, that's not constructive. And Jonathan says, look, you're the greatest hero on the planet. If you don't step up and do the right thing, who will? Clark says, well, I was thinking you. And he basically, in a sense, kind of passes the mantle of Superman to Jonathan. Because he says, look, I'm going to be going away off-world for a while. And you're going to be Superman. Or at least you're going to have to function in my place. And he takes him to the fortress. And he gives him this new uniform. And then I guess it's the next day or sometime after that, again, he's watching this guy on the internet, this Truth guy, and he's talking again about this boatload of refugees. And I guess the boat is sinking, and they're sending out a distress signal and asking for help, but no nations will lift a finger to help them. And the guy, the Truth guy, says that this is because no one wants to cross Gomorrah because it's a resource-rich nation. He doesn't really go into any detail on that about what resources, just that they're resource-rich. When you hear that, you tend to think oil, like maybe it's an oil nation, got a lot of oil, but he doesn't specify. So Jonathan decides to fly out and help them, so he goes and he saves them in the sinking boats. And this is a nice panel here where he lifts the boat out of the water. And he flies them to Metropolis and sets them down in the harbor. And then once they get to start getting off the boat, the cops immediately start throwing handcuffs on them. And again, this just seems a bit overly dramatic here. I mean, would they arrest him? I mean, maybe, as long as they were cooperative. I don't think, with all these people, I don't think, they don't have enough handcuffs for all these people. And I think they would probably just be like having them, as long as they were being cooperative and not fighting. And which, I mean, they seem to be. But anyway, the cops start cuffing him, and Jonathan's like, hey, no, you're not going to cuff these people. And he gets into it with the cop, and they argue, and then the cop relents. And then he flies up to a rooftop, and he's kind of just watching what's going on. And then, hey, suddenly the truth guy is here out of nowhere. And then they start talking. And surprise, surprise, the truth guy is the guy with the pink hair that he met at the campus. And presumably this guy's going to have some powers, because Jonathan even asks him, how did you get up here? And he dodges the question. How did you get up here? How did you sneak up on me? You were pretty distracted. But it's all right. I just wanted to thank you. Okay, it doesn't really answer the question. Anyway, he's Jay Nakamura, and yeah, he runs this truth website. And they have a little talk. And again, I mean, there's nothing here. Well, first, let me finish the story. So anyway, he tells him, look, you may have done the right thing, but you've made a big enemy. And then we see Gamora, and again, it's like this island. It's not very big, so where are the resources? Again, maybe it's oil and it's maybe underneath the ocean or something. I don't know, but I think this story would work a little bit better if we just knew more about Gamora, because he's obviously setting this country and its president up to be the bad guys. And this guy, Jay Nakamura, says, President Henry Bendix will do whatever it takes to destroy you. So, Henry Bendix, I mean, is this, and he's bald. So, is this kind of like some sort of sly reference to Bendis, the previous Superman writer? Because Bendis is bald too. I don't know. But, anyway, they have this conversation. There's nothing in this issue that really screams, yes, John is gay. Jonathan Kent is gay. So, some people are saying, Superman is gay, confirmed. Yeah, I mean, well, not going by this issue. He's not gay yet. Now, do I think they're maybe sending him in that direction? Well, he's starting up this friendship, of sorts with this guy with the pink hair. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that a guy with pink hair, probably gay. I don't think there are a whole lot of guys with pink hair. So this Jay Nakamura, probably gay. And they're becoming chummy. Now, will that lead to something more? It could, So I do think there are certainly signs that they're leading him or sending him in that direction. Now, the question becomes, okay, well, if he's gay, well, so what? Why can't he be gay? Why can't Superman be gay? So here's the thing. This is something it's becoming almost ridiculous in comics, the way the rapidity with which they're turning characters gay. Like I say, Tim Drake, the third Robin, was just revealed to be bisexual just, a month ago, a couple of weeks ago. And yes, they're saying he's bi, but it's a pretty safe bet you will never see Tim Drake have a relationship with a female again. All his relationships going forward will be with other males. So, I mean, he'll be gay for all intents and purposes. And this isn't the first one. There have been others. I don't know them all. Well, of course, another one that leaps to mind is Iceman over at Marvel. 3-4 years ago, they turned him gay out of nowhere over at Marvel. Much in the way they did with Tim Drake, where it's a character who has this previous established history of being heterosexual. But then sort of out of nowhere, they just go, oh, he's gay now. Now, the interesting thing with Jonathan is that this could actually work in a way, in a way that it wouldn't with those other characters, because John does not have this long track record of being heterosexual. He was introduced, during Rebirth? Or actually, I think it was during Convergence. But he was brought into the DC universe during Rebirth, I believe. And, he was already at that point a young kid, and like 9, 10 years old, somewhere in that area. So he wasn't dating or doing any of that, so they really didn't explore whether he was gay or straight. Now, when Bendis came on, one of the first things he did was he took Jonathan away. Jonathan went off with Jor-El somewhere. I don't even know. I didn't read all the books, so I don't know. But they were gone for a long time, I think time traveling. And when they returned, Jonathan was now a teenager. And at the time, I was really just puzzled because when they had introduced Jonathan, they had started this book, Super Sons, which had him and Damian Wayne, who was now Robin, in it. And it was a pretty popular book, and it was pretty good. People liked it. So when they aged Jonathan up to a teenager, they kind of ruined that dynamic between them because now there was this big age disparity between them. And I thought, why would you do that? Why would you mess that up? Well, I think we kind of know why now, so that they could then make him a teen, exploring his sexuality and dating and all that. And I think that may be the reason why they aged him up to begin with. Now, I believe, of course, when he returned and was now older, he wound up actually leaving, going into the future and spending time with the Legion of Superheroes. And with the Legion, I believe he actually did date, I think, Saturn Girl. I think. It was one of them. He did date Saturn Girl some. But again, that was like the first time they showed him dating anybody. And now... So my point is that he doesn't have this long-established history of being heterosexual. So it's not like, suddenly I'm gay out of thin air the way it was with Tim Drake or Iceman or some other characters. So I think him being gay can actually be made to work in a way that it wouldn't with them if it was done, I think if it was done or handled the right way, handled intelligently. So I'm highly skeptical that this is going to be any good at all. The interesting thing here is the position that DC is in now, because what Ethan Van Sciver, who's the one who sort of broke the story or started the rumor, however you look at it, he's kind of put DC into an interesting position here. And I saw YouTuber Just Some Guy who tweeted at Ethan recently a very interesting tweet where he said, I think it's very clever what you've done here because you've put DC in a position now where they kind of have to make him gay because the expectation that he's going to be gay is out there now. And if DC doesn't do it, obviously there will be some readers who are pleased, but the sort of left-wing woke crowd will be outraged, and DC and Marvel and other publishers have made it clear time and time and again that those are the only people whose opinions they really care about, for whatever reason. They're going to be very upset if he isn't made gay. So now it's kind of like they're going to have to do it now. And yeah, I mean, it's... and another issue with making characters gay is they've done so much of this in the last few years. The rapidity with which characters are becoming gay is kind of ridiculous. It's, Richard Meyer, a.k.a., your boy Zach, he said he likes this phrase, statistically improbable lesbians, to kind of point out how the number of homosexuals in comics now is so out of whack with, like, the real world. I saw a Gallup poll because I wanted to kind of figure this out. And it was from in the last couple of years, a Gallup poll. And in this poll, the percentage of the population, American population, who identify as LGBTQ, whatever else, was 5.6%. So 5.6% of the population roughly is homosexual, bisexual, transsexual, whatever else. Now, how many, what percentage of the comic buying audience identifies as LGBTQ, etc.? I don't know for sure. But let's talk about, how many people are there actually buying comics? Now, I've heard different numbers thrown around. I think I remember on Richard Meyer's channel, I think him saying that there was something in the area of, I think, of about like 250, 300,000 or something like that. I mean, I don't know if that's right or not. That sounds about right to me, because even the top selling comics these days, they how many issues are being sold? 100, 120, something like that. So it can't be too much more, I'd say, than maybe double that number, which would put you in the area, of about 250, 300, somewhere in there. So assuming that the percentage of gay readers is roughly equal to the percentage of the general population, you're talking about 5.6% of that, let's say 300,000 being readers. Okay, well, how many people is that? 16,800 people. Now, a comic book's not going to be able to be sustained with a readership of 16,800 people. Now, maybe it's more. Maybe there are more comic book readers than that. Maybe there's 500,000. Okay, well, 5.5 or 5.6% of 500,000 is about 28,000. So these days, 28,000 is actually not that bad a number, surprisingly. Books can actually stay going for a while, but that's like at the very edge of staying published. If it drops much below that at all, it's getting canceled. So you're not going to have a book that's really successful if it's just catering to 5.6% of the population. Now, will there be maybe those who aren't actually LGBTQ, etc., who like this? Yeah, there probably will be some, but how many? Enough to make it 30,000, 40,000? Okay. But again, does DC really want Superman selling 40,000 copies a month? Again, 40,000 is middling at best these days. And again, 10 years ago, that would get you canceled. You wouldn't have a chance of staying published with those numbers. But that's where the industry is now. I'm kind of rambling here, so I'll go ahead and wrap this up. But the bottom line is, Superman is not gay yet. Although, again, there are signs they're sending him that way. But if they do that, it's really going to be hard for the book to be successful. Now, if they do this, then there will be an initial probably spike in sales. That does happen when they do these things sometimes. Because there's a lot of hype, the media builds up, a lot around it, and then there are probably some people who are curious, some speculators who buy the comic because they think this character becoming gay in this issue will make it worth more down the line, which maybe it will. But that rarely lasts. It'll last for a month or two. Then you'll probably see sales declining. And again, does DC want a Superman book that sells 40,000? They'll probably be pleased in the short term because they'll get lots of fawning press coverage about it, and people on Twitter will be praising them and all that. But in the long run, I just don't know that this is going to be successful for them. Anyway, let me know what you think about this issue. Should Jonathan Kent be gay? Should he not? Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Let me know in the comments, and while you're at it, please do like this video, and please also sub to the channel and hit the bell for notifications, and I will see you all next time. Thanks for watching.